The morning sun peeked through the tall windows of Kensington Palace, casting long shadows across the polished floors. 8-year-old Princess Charlotte sat on her bedroom floor, her small hands moving dust from a large wooden chest she had found in the back of her closet. She was not supposed to be here. Her nanny had told her to get ready for her piano lesson, but Charlotte had other ideas. The chest looked old and forgotten. It had the royal family crest on its lid, faded but still beautiful. Charlotte looked over her shoulder to make sure no one was coming, then pulled on the heavy lid. It opened with a creaking sound. Inside, Charlotte found photo albums, letters tied with ribbon, and small boxes. Her eyes grew wide with excitement. She pulled out a leather album with the year 1990 written on its cover. Just then, her brothers walked in. Prince George, the oldest at 10, frowned when he saw what she was doing. "You will get in trouble," he warned, but came closer to see what she had found. 4-year-old Prince Louis bounced into the room behind George. "What are you doing?" he asked loudly. "Shay," Charlotte whispered. "Look what I found. Pictures of Daddy when he was little." The 3 royal children sat in a circle on the floor and opened the album. The first photos showed a young boy with blonde hair standing next to a beautiful woman. "That is Grandmother Diana," George said softly. They had seen pictures of her before, but not many. The palace did not talk about her much. Louis pointed at a photo of young William at a school event. "Why does Daddy look so sad here?" he asked. Charlotte looked closer. The boy in the picture was smiling, but his eyes looked empty. She had seen that same look on her father sometimes, when he thought no one was watching him. They turned more pages and saw photos of William and Harry playing, of Diana hugging her sons, of formal events where everyone wore fancy clothes but no one looked happy. "What are you 3 doing in here?" a voice asked from the doorway. The children jumped. Their mother, Kate, stood watching them with her arms crossed. But she did not look angry, just surprised. "We found pictures of Daddy and Grandmother Diana," Louis said. Kate walked over and sat down on the floor with them, her fancy dress spreading around her. She looked at the open album, and a small, sad smile appeared on her face. "Your daddy does not talk much about when he was little," she said, touching a photo gently. "Why not?" Charlotte asked. Kate seemed to think carefully before answering. "Sometimes when people are very sad, they find it hard to talk about what makes them sad. Your daddy lost his mother when he was just a bit older than George is now." The children were quiet, trying to understand. They knew their grandmother had died, but they had never really thought about what that meant for their father. "Does it still make Daddy cry?" Louis asked. His small face was serious. Kate nodded. "Sometimes, but he is also very happy because he has you 3. Charlotte noticed something in her mother's eyes then, something that looked like worry. She wondered what other secrets the royal family kept hidden from the world and from each other. "Can we ask Daddy about her?" George asked. Kate touched his hair gently. "Yes, but be gentle with his heart. Some wounds take a very long time to heal, even for kings and princes." As Kate helped them put the album back in the chest, Charlotte kept one photo hidden in her dress pocket. It showed Diana looking straight at the camera, her eyes full of something Charlotte could not name but somehow understood. It was the look of someone trying to be brave while feeling scared inside, just like the faces she sometimes saw on her parents when the palace doors closed and the cameras went away. The next morning, Prince George woke up early. He could not stop thinking about the photos they had found. His father had always seemed so strong, so sure of everything. But the sad little boy in those photos looked lost and afraid. After breakfast, George walked to his father's study. The door was open. Prince William sat at his desk, looking at papers. He looked tired. George knocked softly on the doorframe. William looked up and smiled. "George, come in. Shouldn't you be at your history lesson?" "It starts in 10 minutes, George said. He walked into the room slowly. His heart was beating fast. "Father, can I ask you something?" William put down his pen. "Of course." George stood tall, the way he had been taught. Yesterday, we found some old photos of you and Grandmother Diana. William's smile disappeared. He did not speak for a long moment. Then he pointed to a chair. Sit down, George. George sat across from his father. He noticed how William's hands were now pressed flat on the desk, as if to keep them from shaking. What did you want to ask me? William's voice was quiet. You looked sad in the photos, even when you were smiling. George looked straight at his father. Were you sad a lot when you were my age? William took a deep breath. No one at the palace ever talked to him this way. Everyone was always careful around him, always saying the right things. But here was his son, asking the real questions that no one dared to ask. Yes, William finally said. I was sad a lot. My mother was having a hard time. The press, the newspapers, they followed her everywhere. They wrote mean things about her. My parents were not happy together. George nodded. He understood more than adults thought he did. Is that why you and Mummy try to keep us away from the cameras? Yes. Your grandmother Diana loved us very much. But the royal life was hard for her. She wanted to live one way, but the royal family wanted her to live another way. William's eyes looked far away, like he was seeing things from long ago. Did the crown make her cry? George asked. William looked surprised at the question. Then he smiled a sad smile. Yes, sometimes it did. The crown is heavy, George. Not just the real one that great-grandmother wore. The crown means duty and rules, and always being watched. Will I have to wear it one day? George asked. He knew he would be king someday, but it had always seemed like a game, like playing dress-up. William got up and came around the desk. He knelt in front of George so their eyes were level. Yes, but I promise you will not wear it alone. Your mother and I, we are trying to change things, to make the crown lighter for you. George thought about this. Is that why you let us go to normal school sometimes? And why you take us to football games? William nodded. Your grandmother Diana taught me that royal children need normal things too. Love and fun and friends. She would have been so proud of you, George, and Charlotte and Louis too. For the first time, George saw tears in his father's eyes. Without thinking, he put his arms around William's neck. His father hugged him back tightly. Can you tell me more about her? George asked. The real stories, not just the ones in the history books. William wiped his eyes and nodded. I think it is time you knew who she really was. The grandmother who would have loved you so much. As George left for his history lesson, he felt different. The weight of being a future king had always scared him. But now he knew something important. Kings could cry too. Kings could be scared. And that was okay. Princess Charlotte sat on the window seat in her bedroom, holding the photo of Diana she had taken from the album. Outside, rain fell on the palace gardens. The rain made everything look sad, just like the eyes in the photo. Charlotte jumped when her door opened. Her mother Kate walked in, carrying a tray with hot chocolate and cookies. I thought we could have a little treat, Kate said, setting the tray down. She noticed the photo in Charlotte's hand. Where did you get that? Charlotte bit her lip. I took it from the album. I am sorry. Kate sat next to her daughter and looked at the photo. This was taken a few months before she died. I never met her, you know. You never met Grandmother Diana. Charlotte was surprised. No, she died before your father and I met. Kate touched the photo gently. But I have heard so many stories about her. Charlotte looked at her mother carefully. Are you sad like Daddy sometimes? Do you hide it too? Kate seemed surprised by the question. She took a sip of hot chocolate before answering. Yes, sometimes I am sad. Being royal is not always easy. Why? Charlotte asked. Kate looked out at the rain. When I married your father, everything changed. Suddenly everyone was watching me. What I wore, what I said, how I acted with your father. It was scary, like being on a stage all the time. Charlotte asked. She had been in school plays and remembered how nervous she felt. Exactly like that. But the play never ends. Kate smiled at her daughter. Your grandmother, Diana, felt the same way. She was not born royal, just like me. Charlotte thought about this. But you look happy in the photos in the newspapers. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I am just being brave. Kate took Charlotte's small hand in hers. When I first became a princess, I used to cry at night sometimes. I missed my family. I missed being normal. Do you still cry? Charlotte asked. Kate nodded slowly. Sometimes, when people say mean things about me or your father, when I worry about you children growing up with all these rules and duties. Charlotte leaned against her mother. I saw Daddy crying once. After he read a letter. He did not know I saw him. Kate put her arm around Charlotte. Your father carries a lot of pain from losing his mother so young. He tries to be strong for everyone. But sometimes, the pain comes out. Does the crown make everyone cry? Charlotte asked. Kate thought for a moment. The crown itself is just metal and jewels. It is what the crown means that can make people sad. Having to be perfect all the time. Having to follow rules made hundreds of years ago. I do not want to make people cry, Charlotte said, looking worried. Kate hugged her daughter close. You, my sweet girl, bring joy to people, just like your grandmother Diana did. She changed things, you know. She showed that royals could hug people, could care about them. She made the crown a little lighter. Charlotte looked at the photo again. I wish I could have met her. She would have loved you so much, Kate said. You have her kind heart and her brave spirit. That night, Charlotte put the photo under her pillow. She decided something important. She would learn about her grandmother Diana. The real Diana, not just the princess in the history books. And maybe, just maybe, she could help make the crown lighter too, so it would not make anyone cry anymore. Little Prince Louis was not as quiet as his older brother and sister. At 4 years old, he asked questions all the time, loud questions that made grown-ups look at each other with worry. One sunny afternoon, the royal family had to attend a garden party at the palace. Hundreds of important people were there, all dressed in fancy clothes. Louis was wearing a small suit that made his neck itch. His nanny had told him to be on his best behavior. Stand straight, smile nicely, and do not speak unless spoken to, she had said. Louis tried hard to follow these rules. He stood by his mother, watching people bow and curtsy to his parents. Everyone smiled with their mouths, but not with their eyes. It reminded him of the sad photos of his father as a boy. A tall man with a camera moved close to take pictures. Louis did not like the camera. It made a clicking sound that hurt his ears. Please step back, Kate said to the man. Her voice was polite but firm. The man moved back a little, but kept taking pictures. Louis saw his mother's smile get tighter. He saw her hand shake a bit as she held her teacup. Louis tugged on her dress. Mummy, are you scared of the cameraman? People nearby turned to look. Kate bent down to Louis. Not now, darling, she whispered. But Louis was not good at keeping questions inside. Is the cameraman making you sad like they made grandmother Diana sad? A hush fell over the people close enough to hear. Kate's face turned pink. William, who had been talking to someone across the garden, looked over with concern. An old woman with white hair, who Louis knew was an important royal helper, quickly came and led Louis away from the crowd. Young prince, she said in a stern voice, we do not speak of such things in public. Louis looked up at her. Why not? Daddy said grandmother Diana was followed by cameras all the time. They made her cry. The old woman looked shocked. Who told you such things? Daddy told George. I heard them talking. Louis kicked at a stone on the path. I do not like it when Mummy looks scared. The old woman's face softened a bit. Your mother is not scared. She is being royal. That means being brave even when things are hard. Louis thought about this. Like wearing a mask. Something like that, the woman said. Later that evening, Louis found his father in the family sitting room. William was watching the news on television. The garden party was on the screen. "Look, there you are," William said, pointing to Louis in the background of a shot. Standing tall like a proper prince. Louis climbed onto the sofa beside his father. "A lady told me we cannot talk about Grandmother Diana in public. She said Mummy was being royal, not scared." William turned off the television. He looked at his young son with surprise. "What do you mean?" Mummy looked scared. When the cameraman came close, her hand was shaky and her smile was tight. Louis showed with his own face what he meant. Like this. William was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled Louis onto his lap. "You see a lot for such a little boy." "I am not that little," Louis said. William smiled. "No, you are not. You are very clever. And you are right. Sometimes Mummy does get nervous around cameras. They can be very pushy. Like they were with Grandmother Diana." William nodded. "Yes. But we are trying to make things better. We have rules now about how close they can come, about what pictures they can take of you children." Louis played with the buttons on his father's shirt. "I wish they would go away. Without cameras, people could not see the good work we do," William explained. "The charities we help, the people we meet." Louis did not really understand, but he nodded anyway. "But you are right about one thing," William said. "We should be able to talk about Grandmother Diana. She was real, she was important, and she would have loved how you noticed things that others miss." A week later, the royal family traveled to Scotland to stay at Balmoral Castle. This large stone castle in the Green Hills was where the royal family spent their summers. It was also where William and Harry had been when they learned their mother had died. George, Charlotte, and Louis loved Balmoral because they could play outside freely. No cameras were allowed on the private grounds. They could run and shout and get dirty without anyone watching them. On their second day there, Kate found Charlotte sitting alone by the river that ran through the estate. She was drawing in a small notebook. "What are you drawing?" Kate asked, sitting beside her daughter on a large rock. Charlotte showed her the picture. It was a woman with long hair standing by the same river. "It is Grandmother Diana. I am trying to draw her here, at the places she used to go." Kate looked at the drawing with surprise. "That is very thoughtful. How did you know she liked this spot?" "Uncle Harry told me. He called last night." Charlotte continued drawing. "He said they used to skip stones on the water here." Kate nodded. Prince Harry lived far away now, in America, but he still talked to the children on video calls. He told them stories about Diana that no one else would share. Uncle Harry said Grandmother Diana was the only one who let them be normal children here. Charlotte said they could wear jeans and eat ice cream, and no one would tell them to be proper princes. Kate smiled. "Your father has tried to do the same for you three." Charlotte put down her pencil. "Is that why Uncle Harry left? Because he could not be normal in England?" Kate sighed. This was a hard question. It was more complicated than that. "But yes, your uncle wanted more freedom than royal life allowed." Charlotte thought about this. "Does Daddy miss him?" "Very much," Kate said quietly. "They were very close once, like you and Louis." Charlotte could not imagine being separated from her brothers. "Will we see him at Christmas?" "I hope so," Kate said, but her eyes looked doubtful. That evening, Charlotte found her father walking alone in the gardens. She ran to catch up with him. "Daddy, can I ask you something important?" she said, taking his hand. William smiled down at her. Of course. If Grandmother Diana was still alive, would Uncle Harry still live in England? William stopped walking. Charlotte worried she had made him angry, but when he spoke, his voice was just sad. "I ask myself that question too," he admitted. "I think she would have helped us understand each other better. She was good at bringing people together." Charlotte squeezed his hand. "Maybe we can bring Uncle Harry back for Christmas." William knelt down to her level. "Family rifts are not easily fixed, Charlotte, but I promise we will keep trying." Grandmother Diana would want you to, Charlotte said firmly. William looked at his daughter with wonder. You sound just like her sometimes. She never gave up on people she loved. Later that night, when the children were supposed to be in bed, they met secretly in George's room. It had become their habit to share what they had learned about Diana. I found out Grandmother Diana and Uncle Harry used to play pranks on the staff, Charlotte told her brothers. She would help him hide fake spiders in their rooms. Louis giggled. That sounds fun. George was more serious. I asked Father if he thought she would be proud of him now. He said he hoped so, but sometimes he worries he has not been brave enough. Brave how? Louis asked. In standing up for what is right, George explained. Grandmother Diana was not afraid to break rules when they were wrong. The three children talked until they heard footsteps in the hall. They quickly returned to their own beds, but not before making a plan. They would learn everything they could about Diana, and they would help heal the family she had left behind. Back in London, the royal children were scheduled to attend a charity event at a children's hospital. It was the same hospital Diana had often visited. The palace had planned every detail. The children would smile, give flowers to sick children, and pose for a few careful photos. But things did not go as planned. When they arrived, many photographers stood outside the hospital. They shouted questions and pushed close to the car. Louis covered his ears. Charlotte looked worried. George stood tall, but his hands were shaking. Inside, they met children who were very sick. Some had cancer. Some had been in accidents. The hospital staff showed them around, telling them to just say hello and move on quickly. But Charlotte stopped at the bed of a girl with no hair. The girl looked scared. "Hello, I am Charlotte," she said, sitting down on the chair next to the bed. This was not in the plan. The royal helper tried to make her move on, but Charlotte stayed. "I am Maya," the girl said in a quiet voice. "I have leukemia." Charlotte took the girl's hand. "That sounds scary. Are you brave?" Mia nodded. "I try to be, but sometimes I cry at night when no one can see." Charlotte looked thoughtful. "My daddy says that is okay. Being brave does not mean never crying. It means doing what you need to do even when you are scared." The royal helper looked nervous. These were not the practiced words Charlotte was supposed to say. But Kate, watching from nearby, did not stop her daughter. "People take my picture a lot," Charlotte told Mia. "It makes me nervous sometimes, but my grandmother taught my father that helping others is more important than being afraid." "Was your grandmother brave?" Maya asked. "Very brave," Charlotte said. "She used to visit children like you. She would hug them and hold their hands. People told her not to, but she did it anyway." As Charlotte spoke, the other children in the room moved closer to listen. Even the doctors and nurses stopped to watch. "She sounds nice," Maya said. She was, and she changed things. Before her, royals did not touch sick people or sad people. They stayed far away and just waved. Charlotte demonstrated with a stiff royal wave that made Mia giggle. "Can I have a hug instead of a wave?" Maya asked. Without hesitation, Charlotte hugged the sick girl. Cameras flashed. The royal helper looked like she might faint, but Kate smiled with tears in her eyes. Meanwhile, George was in another ward with his father. They'd met a boy named Jack who had lost his mother in a car crash. "I know how you feel," George said quietly. The royal helper tried to shush him, but William put his hand on George's shoulder, letting him speak. "My father lost his mother when he was young too," George told Jack. "He says the hurt never goes away completely, but it does get easier to carry." Jack looked at William with new interest. "Really? You lost your mom?" William nodded. "I was 15. Not much older than you." "Do you still miss her?" Jack asked. "Every day," William said honestly. "But I try to make her proud by helping others the way she would have." Across the room, Louis was being Louis. He had climbed onto a bed with a boy who had both legs in casts. They were playing a video game together, laughing loudly. "Prince Louis, please come down from there," the royal helper said in a strained voice. But Louis just grinned. "I am winning. One more race, please." The boy's mother had tears in her eyes. He has not laughed like that since the accident. Kate went to sit beside the woman. "Let them play. Rules can wait." When it was time to leave, the children did not want to go. They had made real connections, not just posed for photos. Outside, the photographers were still waiting. But something was different now. The royal children did not look stiff and practiced. They looked real. A reporter called out, "Princess Charlotte, why did you hug that little girl?" It was not in the official plan. Before anyone could stop her, Charlotte answered, "Because she needed a hug more than I needed to follow rules." That is what my grandmother Diana would have done. The quote was in every newspaper the next day. The palace was not happy about what had happened at the hospital. The old royal helpers had an emergency meeting. They said the children had broken too many rules. They had spoken without permission. They had shown too much emotion. Worst of all, they had mentioned Diana without approval. The head of palace communications, a stern woman named Lady Victoria, came to speak with William and Kate. "Your Royal Highnesses, we need to discuss the children's behavior yesterday," she said, sitting stiffly in an armchair. "Princess Charlotte's comments about the late Princess Diana have created quite a stir in the press." William and Kate sat side by side on a small sofa. They held hands, something they rarely did in formal meetings. "What exactly is the problem, Lady Victoria?" William asked. His voice was calm, but his eyes were not. "The princess spoke about private family matters in public. She hugged a sick child. Prince George discussed your Royal Highness's grief with a stranger. And Prince Louis." Lady Victoria sighed. "Prince Louis played video games while sitting on a hospital bed." Kate spoke up. "The children connected with people who were suffering. They showed compassion. Isn't that what royal visits are meant to do?" Lady Victoria frowned. "There are proper ways to show royal compassion, ways that have worked for hundreds of years." William leaned forward. "And yet the public response to yesterday's visit has been overwhelmingly positive. People are calling it the most genuine royal event in years." "That may be," Lady Victoria said, "but there are traditions to uphold. The monarchy survives because of stability and proper behavior." William stood up suddenly. "The monarchy survives because people believe in it, and people believed in my mother because she was real. She showed her heart." His voice shook a little. "I will not tell my children to hide their hearts." Lady Victoria looked shocked. "Your Royal Highness, I meant no disrespect to the late princess." "But you did," Kate said softly, "by suggesting her legacy of compassion and authenticity should be hidden away like something shameful." Later that day, William found the children playing in the gardens. He sat on a bench and watched them for a while. They were so free when they thought no one was watching. So much like normal children. George noticed him first and came running over. "Are we in trouble, Father, for what happened at the hospital?" Charlotte and Louis joined them, looking worried. William shook his head. "No, you are not in trouble. In fact, I am very proud of you all." The children looked relieved but confused. Lady Victoria said we broke the rules, Charlotte said. She told Nanny we were not proper royals. William smiled. Sometimes the rules need to be broken. Sometimes being a proper royal means doing what is right, not what is expected. "Like Grandmother Diana did?" Louis asked. "Exactly like that," William said. He patted the bench beside him, and the children crowded close. "My mother broke many rules. She hugged people with AIDS when others were afraid to touch them. She walked through minefields to show the world how dangerous they were. She took me and Uncle Harry to homeless shelters so we would understand how lucky we were." "The newspapers say we are like her," George said. "That we are changing things too." William looked at his 3 children with pride. "You are her greatest legacy, not just because you are her grandchildren, but because you have her spirit." What does that mean? Louis asked, always curious. It means you see people as people, not as subjects. You care more about being kind than being perfect. William put his arms around all three children. And that makes you very good royals indeed. That night, William called his brother Harry. They had not spoken in months, but the hospital visit had made William think about what truly mattered. The children asked about you today, William said when Harry answered. Charlotte thinks we should all be together for Christmas. There was a long silence. Then Harry's voice, sounding far away but clear. Diana would have wanted that. Yes, William agreed. She would have. For the first time in years, the brothers talked without anger or hurt. They talked about their children, about memories of their mother, about the weight of the crown that had pushed them apart. When William hung up the phone, Kate was standing in the doorway. How did it go? She asked. William smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. He is coming for Christmas, all of them. He said the kids helped him remember what matters. Kate hugged him. They are healing old wounds without even trying. Just by being themselves, William agreed, just like she taught us to be. As Christmas approached, the palace buzzed with nervous energy. Prince Harry, his wife, and their children were coming from America. It would be the first time in years that the brothers and their families spent the holiday together. The official palace staff were worried. What if the brothers argued? What if the press found out about private family matters? What if the children said the wrong things? But the children were simply excited. They had only met their American cousins a few times. They had questions and plans and hopes. A week before Christmas, a huge tree was put up in the main hall of the palace. The royal family always decorated it together. This year, Charlotte had a special idea. We should make ornaments for Grandmother Diana, she told her mother. To show Uncle Harry we remember her too. Kate thought this was a wonderful idea. She helped the children gather supplies. They made paper stars and painted them with sparkly gold. On each star, they wrote a word that described Diana. Brave, kind, loving, real. George made a star that said truthful. Louis made one that said fun in crooked letters. Charlotte made the biggest star. It said never forgotten. When the day came to decorate the tree, William seemed nervous. He kept checking his phone and looking out the window. Daddy, they will come, Charlotte assured him. Uncle Harry promised. Just then, cars pulled up outside. The children ran to the window. There was Uncle Harry, helping his children out of the car. There was his wife, carrying presents. The palace doors opened, and for a moment everyone stood still. The brothers looked at each other across the grand entrance hall. Years of hurt and misunderstanding hung in the air between them. Then Louis, who never followed rules, broke the silence. He ran across the hall and jumped into Harry's arms. Uncle Harry, did you bring me a present from America? Everyone laughed, and the tension broke. The families moved toward each other. Hugs were exchanged, some awkward, some warm. We are decorating the tree, Charlotte told her uncle. We made special stars. Harry looked curious. What kind of stars? Come see, George said, leading everyone to the tree. William and Kate had already hung many traditional ornaments, but there was still plenty of room for the children's stars. These are for Grandmother Diana, Charlotte explained, showing Harry the stars, so she can be with us for Christmas. Harry took the star that said brave and looked at it for a long time. His eyes filled with tears. This is perfect. His voice was rough with emotion. The children helped their cousins make stars too. Soon the tree sparkled with gold memories of Diana. As they worked, Harry and William stood side by side, not speaking but not fighting either. Progress, Kate thought. Later, when the children were playing and the tree was finished, Harry found William alone in the study. The kids did a good job with the stars, Harry said. It was an olive branch, a safe way to start talking. William nodded. They have been learning about her, asking questions, finding old photos. Harry looked surprised. You talk about her with them. Not enough, at first, William admitted. But they found an old album. And then the questions started. Now we talk about her often. Harry sat down across from his brother. That is good. I worried she would be forgotten. That was never going to happen, William said. Especially not now. Your niece and nephews have made sure of that. Harry smiled. They remind me of her, especially Charlotte. She has that same look in her eyes. Yes, William agreed. And Louis has her mischief. George has her compassion, Harry added. For the first time in years, the brothers found common ground. They shared memories of their mother, good ones that made them laugh through tears. Outside the door, the three royal children listened. They had planned to ask the grown-ups to play a game, but stopped when they heard their fathers talking. They are not fighting, Louis whispered, sounding surprised. They are remembering grandmother Diana together, Charlotte said with satisfaction. Our plan is working, George said. The stars were a good idea. The children tiptoed away, letting their father and uncle have this moment of healing. They had more plans for bringing the family together, but for now, this was enough. Christmas Day came with a blanket of snow over London. The royal family attended church together, walking in a line as tradition required. But this year was different. Harry walked beside William. Their children played in the snow together. The press noticed and took many photos. Look, they are not fighting anymore, people said, looking at the brothers. It is a Christmas miracle, others said. But it was not a miracle. It was the work of three children who had found an old photo album and asked questions that grown-ups have been afraid to ask for years. After church, the family gathered for Christmas dinner. The table was long and covered with fancy dishes. Everyone wore paper crowns from Christmas crackers, even the Queen. When dinner was over, Charlotte stood up. This was not planned. Kate looked worried, but William nodded to his daughter. I have a present for everyone, Charlotte said. She was nervous but stood tall. It is not wrapped. It is not something you can hold. Everyone looked curious. Even the Queen leaned forward to listen. My present is a story, Charlotte continued. A story about a princess who was also a mother. A story about two brothers who loved each other but got lost. A story about a family that forgot how to talk about sad things. The room was very quiet now. Harry and William looked at each other across the table. When we found grandmother Diana's photos, we had questions. We asked those questions even when they made grown-ups uncomfortable. And we learned that talking about sad things can make them less sad. George stood up beside his sister. We learned that Uncle Harry and Father both miss grandmother Diana. That they both remember her laugh and her hugs. That they both feel alone sometimes, even in a room full of people. Louis jumped up too, not wanting to be left out. And we learned that cameras can make people cry, even if they are smiling. The grown-ups looked surprised. The children had seen and heard more than anyone realized. Our present is a promise, Charlotte said. A promise to always talk about the things that hurt, to never hide our tears behind royal smiles. Harry was the first to clap. Then William. Soon, everyone was clapping, even the Queen, who rarely showed emotion in public. After dinner, the family gathered in the big living room. Usually, they would watch the Queen's speech on television. But this year, William had another idea. I would like to show you all something, he said. He set up a projector that shined pictures on the wall. The first image appeared. It was Diana, young and laughing, holding baby William. Then Diana with both boys, playing in a garden. Diana at a hospital, hugging sick children. Diana dancing in a beautiful dress. These are not the official royal photos, William explained. These are the real moments. The Diana who was more than a princess. The Diana who was our mother. The family watched in silence. More photos appeared. Diana helping at a homeless shelter. Diana walking through a minefield. Diana sitting on a hospital bed, holding the hand of a man with AIDS. She broke the rules, Harry said softly. She changed what it means to be royal. And she would be so proud of all of you, Kate added, looking at the children, for helping us remember what truly matters. The last photo showed Diana with her arms around both her sons. They were all laughing, their faces close together, no space for royal distance. When the photos ended, there were tears on many faces, but they were not hidden tears. They were shared in the open, without shame. Louis, always direct, looked at his father and uncle. "Are you going to be friends again now?" The grown-ups laughed through their tears. "We are working on it," William said, placing his hand on Harry's shoulder. "One day at a time," Harry agreed. As the family left the room to get ready for bed, Charlotte hung back. She looked at the wall where the photos had been shown. She could almost see her grandmother there, smiling her real smile. "We did it," Charlotte whispered. "We found the real you. We helped heal your family." That night, the royal palace was quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet. Not the silence of things unsaid, but the peace of truth finally spoken. The crown still sat in the Tower of London, heavy with history and duty. But the family that would wear it had changed. They had learned that royal tears were not a weakness to hide, but a strength to share. And they had 3 children to thank for that lesson.